Welcome to the Alex Spicer Show. This is Alex Spicer. Yeah, you know me. All right, so if you look around you, you notice that, yeah, we're on video again. Yay, back to video. It's been a while, but we're still working on setting up the studio. Still trying to get things that we like to put in the background. So over the next few episodes or however long it takes, if you notice that there's changes going on, then kudos for you. That's going to be happening. Anyways, so if you're a Christian, it seems a lot like you're kind of under attack, that Christianity gets blamed for everyone. Christian people get blamed for all the bigotry out there. It kind of makes me wonder, and I think a lot of us actually question, why is it that Christians get hated? We are the scapegoat for most everything. If you are a rational human being, you go, that's ridiculous. But you have to ask yourself, why? Why does this happen? The most recent event that I'm talking about is the Southern Poverty Law Center, also known as the SPLC, which is famous for taking on the KKK in the 1970s. They took on the KKK and really destroyed them in the courts, made them lose a ton of money and a lot of credibility and a lot of power. And since that time, they've actually taken on a lot of these sort of, hate groups, and they've been known for leading these causes. It turns out that they are now marking Christian organizations that are peaceful, that aren't bigots, as hate groups. Now, the reason why this is important is because when you have someone like this that is this strong, this powerful, especially politically, and they go out and they're saying these people are hateful, that they hate gays because they don't have the traditional, or they hold traditional views, they don't believe in gay marriage or whatever, that brings on a lot of consequences that you really should be worried about. The D. James Kennedy Ministries, they decided to take up the SPLC on this and take them to court. They told them to redact what they were doing and marking their group in particular and some other groups as hate groups. And if they wouldn't, then they would take them to court. Well, SPLC chose not to do that, so they decided they would go to court. In a statement, the ministry said, "It's ridiculous for the SPLC to falsely tag evangelical ministries as, quote, hate groups for simply upholding the 2,000-year-old Christian consensus on marriage and sexuality. It's nothing more than an attempt to bulldoze over those who disagree with them, and it has a chilling effect on the free exercise of religion in a nation built on that." And I agree with a lot of what he just said here. One of the main things is that it's an attempt to bulldoze over people who do not agree with your point of view. And that's what's happening. People are labeled as bigots or as hate groups even because they don't believe in the popular ideas of same-sex marriage maybe or other sexual orientations. But just because they believe differently doesn't make them a bigot. It's not about tolerance, it's about conformity. It's also, he said in this statement that it has a chilling effect on the free exercise of religion, and that our nation was built on that. Let's jump into that real fast, because that is extremely important for us to recognize that it does have a very chilling effect. It has a lot of consequences for us culturally and for us politically as a nation. That when you can have a group like this come out and start attacking Christian groups who aren't hate groups, then it starts to encourage people to attack Christians even more, blame them even more, and suppress religious freedom. And the truth is that Christians, we get blamed for a lot of these things, even though we're not the only ones who believe it, even though you have Jews and Muslims who believe also in traditional marriage and traditional sexual orientation, they don't get attacked like we do. One of the main reasons is because it is a social taboo to attack them, because they are these special sort of minority groups. Now, people do attack them, yes, but culturally, socially, you don't go there. You don't label them as bigots or hate groups, whatever. But then you have Christians, and it seems like all of the hatred and all this sort of stuff that the progressive left hates the most spews it out on Christians, that we are the scapegoat for all of this hatred and all the bigotry, that all the problems in the world come from Christianity. So the real reason I find that Christians are attacked in this way, it's not so much that it's a taboo to then attack these other groups who believe similarly, but that because it is a part of America's foundation. And that evil is real. It's a living, breathing thing. It's out there, and it colludes with all these different groups to attack the foundation of good. It wants to destroy good. And the foundation of America really is good. There's actually a lot of good that Christianity brings to the world and brings to America, that a lot of these ideals, a lot of these ideas even that we believe in come from Christianity. One of the major ideas that these groups on all sides of the aisle agree upon is equality. In fact, progressives, they take the idea of equality and they basically try to skew it and twist it into something completely not what equality really is. However, they still say they value in that, but they are unwilling to admit the source of the foundation, the root of that belief, why America has that belief. And it comes from the Christian religion, from Christianity. So if you jump back to history, you look in Europe. So what happened is, in Europe, you had a lot of countries that were led by a monarchy, and usually coupled with that was a Christian religion. Now, let me just point out that it's not Christianity that leads people to do evil things. People will commit all sorts of evils and atrocities for any reason. They will use any excuse. They will warp Christian doctrine and ideas to fit and justify what they are doing, even if it is completely contrary and wrong. At this time, Europe was controlled by these governments that used religion as this power to rule over everyone without question. This divine right of kings, and you had reformations going on, a lot of them popping up everywhere, because people started to realize that the churches that existed were not actually following these real Christian values and principles that have existed since the beginning. They were very far from that. In fact, you have Martin Luther. He's a really major example in his theses that he nailed to the door. He's like, these are not consistent. These are not right. So you have all these reformations happening, but Europe does not have the freedom of religion, so they are being attacked, they are marginalized, they're murdered. They had to get out of there. They got out of there. They chose to go to where? America. They went to the Americas because in their mind, it was, I have to live somewhere where I can be free to live my conscience, where I will not be attacked. And it's worth risking my life going across this ocean and landing and settling in a new land that is very wild and unknown, and there's a lot of trials yet to come. They were willing to risk all that just so they could live free. William Penn even said, he wrote in this document, this government document, that no people can be truly happy, though under the greatest enjoyment of civil liberties, if abridged of the freedom of their consciences. He knew, and he's saying right there, that we really can't be happy. We can't enjoy true liberty without the liberty to live according to your conscience, or in other words, religious freedom. So America was found, literally, these colonies are growing up. They're prospering. They're gaining more population, but they have this idea that, hey, we are all equal. We all deserve equality of rights, and we should be able to live according to how we believe. And then you get to the American Revolution, and you have the Declaration of Independence that comes out, and that's one of the most incredible documents and one of the most revered documents in all the world. What's really interesting, though, is in the very beginning, they reference very religious things. And as you know, the founding fathers, they were Christian, they were religious, and they said that all men are created, implying God, are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Right there, you have this statement saying that we believe that God, there's a God, there's a being here, and he made us equal. He made us the same in rights. We may not be the same in intellect, in property, in opportunities necessarily, but we are the same in rights, and we should have the same protection of those rights. That's what they're standing for. That's what America stands for. But then that continues to get twisted. And now we say, at least the progressives will say that, well, you're not treating people equally if you don't agree with us, if you don't believe the same thing as us. Nothing could be further from the truth. If we are going to treat people equally, then we will equally respect and tolerate someone else's beliefs, even when you believe it is very wrong in every way. As long as those beliefs are not causing people to actually harm other people, we should really respect those things. You have to recognize, and you have to be very vocal about this fact that it is not hate to believe differently. There's nothing more important than freedom. There are things so much more important in this life, and one of those is freedom. I love this quote by John Hancock when he said that resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and social duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and with a proper sense of your dependence on God, nobly defend those rights which heaven gave and no man ought to take from us. I love that quote. And I love how he points out right then and there that it is a Christian duty to resist tyranny. And like I said, I believe that evil is a very living, well, it's a live thing. It's existed throughout all of humanity. But I see all the things that happen, and I don't think it's coincidental that a lot of the evil today targets the very foundational things of a good, moral, and strong, sturdy foundation. Now, if you are afraid and you want to shrink away from this fight, well, let me just suggest to you that by you being a Christian alone, you already believe you're already a part of this fight. You're already in it. And if you really want to shrink away from this, you're going to have to literally separate yourself from the very values and beliefs that are central to your religion, but even more importantly, your country. The greatest country in the world, America, the freest country in the world. This is something that I could never do. I could never separate myself from this, and I hope that you never would either. You have to be brave enough. You have to have the courage, the moral courage to just stand up for what is right. I like to use the example of Nehemiah. So Nehemiah, he's an Old Testament sort of guy, and it's actually a book in the Old Testament. And at the time of Nehemiah, Jerusalem was destroyed, and the Jews, their temple was completely ruined. Their walls around the city were destroyed. But out of nowhere, the king of Persia had mercy upon them, and he told Nehemiah that, yeah, you can go ahead and allow the Jews to build up this wall, because that was a very big concern of the Jews. They felt like they were very vulnerable to all the other smaller kingdoms and nations underneath Persia that would come and hurt them. These other people who hate the Jews that want to destroy them, they don't want the wall to be built. They try all sorts of ideas to get him to stop the construction and even get away from the wall so they can kill him. They say, no, can you come talk to us? Meet us over here, way over here. We got to talk to you, and they try to get him away. But I love what Nehemiah says. He says, I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. He cannot come down. He knows what he is doing is so much more important. And regardless of your threats and of your blackmail, I'm not coming down. We are engaged in a great work. Especially if you are a Christian and you have these values, you are engaged in this great work, but you need to be more engaged. There's more to do. We need your voice. We need to have unity and stand up against tyranny, because it's not just about us. It's not about Christians as a special interest group. It's about all of Americans, all of humanity, and having freedom for all mankind. Like our founding fathers said in the Declaration of Independence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They knew that there was things much more important in this life than what they could tangibly have, than what they could have there, that something like freedom is worth fighting and dying for because of what it will do for the world and for generations to come. So thank you so much for watching the Alex Spicer Show. If you liked what you saw or heard, click that like button. If you have any questions or comments, put those below. I'd love to get back to you about those. And don't forget to live free till next time.